Right now on Tech Radio, the worst kept secret in smartphones and why you might want it.
Hi, I'm Artemis. I am a computer-generated AI voice, and you're listening to Tech Radio.
Every week online and on air with RT Radio, we bring you the latest in tech from Ireland and across the world. This is episode 1084, looking at the biggest stories of the week, including new toys from Apple, of course. Also, would you like your chats to be surveilled? And with our guest Tanya Mulcahy, we'll be finding out more about the Irish femtech industry, which is now worth $97 billion globally.
This is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
I'm Dusty. Joining me as always, our editor-in-chief, Niall Kitson. New toys from Apple. It's like kids go back to school, we get new phones from Apple. Are you impressed? They called the entire event awe-dropping, pardon me.
Awe-dropping, yeah. In fairness, I think the worst kept secret in smartphones, as you flagged it, I think it has delivered. Now, whether I want one is something else. But if you remember what happened when Apple initially released the MacBook Air, people were like, what? I mean, what was it? Netbooks were in at the time. People wanted fully functioning PCs. And here was this other thing, and it was super slim. And guess what? It is Apple's most popular laptop now. So looking at the iPhone Air, does it deliver? Well, yeah, I think it does.
In what way?
Okay. Way number one, it is the lightest of the new Apple phones. It's got, I think it's the biggest screen. It's got 6.5 inch screen versus I think all the other ones are 6.3. It's probably got the best screen at 1260 by 2736 pixels. I'd have to check that against the Ultra now, just to be on the safe side. And out of all the new phones, they've got the A19 Pro chip, which Apple claims is laptop grade. And I have no reason not to believe them on that slot. Speaking of slots, however, and here we arrive at a point of contention, of which there are two. eSIM only.
Okay.
Right? So no, there's slots for two eSIMs, not one eSIM and one nano SIM or something like that.
Okay, so eSIM, it's a virtual slot you're talking about, okay? Let me ask you, what's the problem with it being eSIM only?
Because it is one less port that we have, which means that it is most likely to be one piece of metal, which means it more difficult to repair.
So it's more about the design of the phone that you have a problem with rather than the fact of the SIM card being virtual.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a choice that was, well, I don't know. Maybe this is something we're going to see across the board, that eSIMs will just become the standard.
Well, look, Apple, if Apple's doing that with the AirPhone 17 or the iPhone 17 Air, it's going to go across the board.
Okay. The second thing I have a problem with is the camera module. Yes. There's only one camera in the rear.
Yeah.
Whereas we're used to 2 to 3.
But
3 on the Ultra.
This is the thing with mobile phones these days, is they have amazing cameras in them, especially when you look at the sizes of them and the qualities of pictures that they take. And what do? We take pictures of where our car is parked.
Yeah.
Do you really need 3 high quality, ultra macro and ultra wide lens and all that kind of stuff? Do you need it?
Well, I mean, maybe. I mean, our phones, I mean, if you look at the great differentiators between phones, right? Yeah. Battery life and cameras. I know nobody goes, oh, it's got iOS 25, ergo it's going to be fantastic. You send somebody out to buy a phone, they're going to buy something that feels good in the hand, has a nice screen, because it's the first thing you look at. And the iPhone Air does indeed have a very nice screen. I think it's up to 3,000 nits. It's super bright. It's really nice looking. And all those sort of initial, I'm going to say consumer facing things, you know, the stuff that catches your attention before you go under the hood, they're all really good. And also to have that large screen it's pretty eye catching. Now it does look like it's been pancaked compared to the other iPhones that have come out. Yeah, it's just like it's all the same. We just squished it a little bit, stretched it out.
Do you know? I was looking at. My first thought was, okay, they've squished it, and then you've got the big camera module on the back, all right, which just throws the whole shape of it out altogether. But I just kind of thought, well, do you know what you could do with that space, if you like, all right, on the back of the phone? It's perfect for attaching a spare battery to. Because I wonder, with the size of that phone and the thinness of that phone, will it last all day?
Well, I mean, you kind of give up on battery life because it comes back to what are you using it for?
Exactly. Yeah. Well,
if I'm on my camera all day recording video, my battery isn't going to.
Yeah, if I'm using Android Auto in the car, it really runs down my battery. I have to fix that or whatever. But anyway, that's a small thing. iPhone Air, anyway, it wasn't a surprise. No. I thought it was a bit kind of like, normally if Apple were to come out with that, it would be, oh man, look at what they've done. But if Samsung did it in May with their Edge phone. So we've seen a super slim phone at this stage, and now Apple are coming around a few months later with their own, and I think kind of they missed out on a bit of the old oomph because of that. You're not impressed overall. What about the other iPhones then, the regular iPhones?
I'm not going to say that. I'm impressed at, you know, I'm impressed, and I think it will find its place in the market, because I don't think it's overpriced either. It's just under $1,000.
Okay, now
which
tell
is
me
a terrible thing to say.
Tell me, it is, yeah. Tell me about the regular iPhone 17 and what was announced, and then I'll tell you what I think about these two things.
Yeah, do you know what? I mean, when you look at the comparison, I mean, they really were pushing the Air. So therefore, what are you going to do with the regular iPhone? Well, not a whole lot, as it turns out. I mean, the thing that's interesting is the A19 chip, and the upgraded storage. Base model is now 256 gigs.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Otherwise, it's as you were.
But it's cheaper.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think it's 200 quid cheaper, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Here's what I thought after seeing the presentation about the iPhones, okay? Nothing really new, except the fact that the iPhone is now available in orange, which looks gank.
Yeah.
However, look, it's the regular, the base model phone is actually a really, really good phone. And you would be hard pushed to say to yourself, do I really need the Pro? Unless you're a very heavy user, you don't really need the Pro. But if you're a regular user, I think, you know, the regular iPhone 17, bargain. Brilliant phone, does a huge amount. It's one of the best you can get.
Sure.
And the price
I feel the same way about Pixel 10.
And you've had that now for a couple of weeks.
For a while,
so you're settling into it, yeah.
We need to have a chat about it. But yeah, it is a very good phone. It is a very good phone.
There you go. And it's about what, 800 quid or something like that, is it? I think
thereabouts. You know, ask your provider of choice.
There you go. That was interesting. The Apple Watch. Now they were going on about the Apple Watch, right?
Right.
And forgive me if I'm wrong on this, okay? But they were talking about measuring your system for high blood pressure.
Yeah.
And this was something that they concentrated on a lot and made a big deal about it. But they've been doing that for years with Apple Watches. This is nothing new. Maybe they've improved it slightly, but they have been measuring hypertension for maybe 2 years.
I think it's probably the accuracy is really what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They're also talking about things like sleep apnea. For women, there's time in their cycle as well. So, you know, they are layering on more things that you can do with the watch. Personally, I mean, it's just all about fitness. It's a fitness device.
That's what it's turning
that
into. Yeah.
happens to tell the time.
Yeah, and show you text messages, which is one of the reasons why I'm not getting a smartwatch, because I'm trying to get away from my smartphone because it's so distracting. Do you know, it comes up with a little report for me and it says, do you know how much time you spend on average a day on your smartphone, Dusty? Take a guess.
Oh, goodness. Oh, I shudder to think. Well, you especially, because you're a devil. I'm going to say 4 hours a day.
No, not quite that bad. 2:45, I think.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's still a lot. There is still a lot in there. Yeah. The AirPods 3, they've redesigned them, yada, yada, yada. The big thing that they were doing about them was the live translation, okay? Something that Pixel Buds has been doing for quite a while. But here's something I will level this accusation of Pixel Buds as much as I will with the AirPods 3, right? The live translation, amazing. They did the demo. The woman's walking around a market. She hasn't a clue how to speak Spanish or whatever the language was. Somebody says something in Spanish or Italian to her, and then she hears it in her headphones going, oh, the red roses are on sale today. You can get them for half price. Amazing, okay? The problem is, how do you respond? You're wearing your AirPods 3 in there, and a policeman from whatever the other country comes up and he goes, blah, 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 blah. And then you hear it in your ear saying, I think you've been selling drugs. Can you tell me blah, 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 blah? How do you go, oh, it wasn't me?
So you just have to get really good at gestures.
It was just a thought. Just a thought that came to me. Yeah, exactly. No mention, actually, interesting in the pricing. The pricing is as we might expect for Apple this year. No mention of tariffs. No massive price jumps.
Interesting. So they're going to swallow the tariffs for the moment, possibly waiting on the Supreme Court decision to say whether the tariffs are actually legal or not.
There we go. Listen, okay, all right, okay. Let's not dig ourselves into that. Oh! You've just given me a lovely segue into our next story. All right, because we're talking about money, and the three main Irish banks this week have announced that they're going to launch their own rival to Revolut. So it's AIB, Permanent TSB. I'm still calling them Permanent TSB, and Bank of Ireland. They're not actually launching an app, which I think is good. All right. What they're doing is they're going to integrate a system called ZipPay into their individual banking apps. So if you're with Bank of Ireland, ZipPay will pop up in that. If you're with TSB, it'll be in that. AIB, similar as well. And you will be able to, as you do with Revolut, just send people money here and there and there. Mm-hmm. But this is what drives me nuts about Irish banks, right? Bank of Ireland is my bank, okay? And I find them, when it comes to technology, to be absolutely awful, okay? Mm-hmm. They're very much stuck in 2005. It never works. It's always slow. It drives me bananas, right? And then it's also too complicated to do anything. Do you know that I have to, if I want to log into my bank account, I have to have my app there, and then I also have to log into my app in order to log into online. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of circular stuff. It's just bananas. Anyways, there's always something, right? With Revolut, you can transfer money to anybody anywhere in the world. With Revolut, you can transfer. I don't know what the limit is actually, but it's certainly more than €1,000 a day. So it's grand and it's handy. With the Irish banks, you will be able to send up to €1,000 a day, and no more than €500 in one go. And those limitations drive me nuts, because if you do need, what if you're buying a car off somebody and you want to pay them via your phone? Do you know what I mean? Or a bike or something that's worth, 3, 4, 5 grand or something like that. If it's in the bank, you're able to transfer it via Revolut to them. Well, why not? So that becomes a problem. Like there's always a restriction. But I am very cranky today, aren't I? On the plus side, I suppose it's a safety feature, because if somebody nicks your phone or gets access to your app, they can't send more than €1,000 a day. So there you go. All right. Okay. I'm off my soapbox. Next story.
Off your soapbox. Okay.
Next story.
Let me tell you the something that's going to blow your mind about this story.
Okay. Go on.
This is not the first time Irish banks have tried a competitor for Revolut. In 2020, which is, Revolut has been around since 2015? It's around 10 years. In 2020, the Irish banks got together. Now, when I say the Irish banks at the time, it was Bank of Ireland, AIB, PTSB, and KBC Bank Ireland, which has now left the market. Did so a couple of years ago. They decided they would do something similar, and they launched a project called Sync, was SYNC, which was tasked with releasing an app called Yippay.
Okay.
So that was 2020, and it was wrapped up in 2023. Basically, it was taking them too long, it was costing too much money, and they couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Now, what they've done this time that's different, which is why this is actually going to happen, is that the back end of this function, they are using an Italian company called Nexi, which has been around for years. Right, they're a well-established company, and this isn't a case of building from something from scratch. It's a matter of using something that already works. So it's effectively opting into, a backend or agreeing to adopt a backend that is already proven. So that's the difference this time around. And do you know what? There's actually an EU alternative to Revolut already in place. We don't use it here. Or rather, I think only one bank uses it. It's called SEPA Instant.
Okay.
And the idea is that it's fast transfers across countries.
The EU thing, yes. I've heard of this, not as an app, but as if you want to transfer money from your Irish bank to Germany or wherever it is, Spain or whatever, it should transfer instantly with SEPA Instant.
Yeah. And they say, within 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So I guess if you're a business and you do an awful lot of stuff in Europe, I suppose that's probably the service for you. Yeah. But again, we don't use it an awful lot here. Europe have been very big on pushing SEPA Instant because SEPA has been such a success. So they really want to sort of, I suppose, expand the brand, might be a way of looking at it. Yeah. So not the first time the pillar banks have taken on Revolut. We are going to market with this, fingers crossed, in 2026, early 2026.
Okay.
No exact date.
Okay.
Which means that if it happens in 2026, I'll be impressed.
Yeah. We'll see. Well, listen, when it does happen, you and I can play. We can play bank app tennis. I'll lob you over €10, and you can lob it straight back, and then I'll lob it back at you.
I won't.
Also this week, I said it in the introduction about having your chats surveilled. This is a huge thing, with ChatGPT or whatever app it is that you're using. That can your messages be read? Can somebody be looking at them? There's a huge break in this story this week. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, well, by the time that we've gone live, a vote will be happening in the European Parliament about the chat control bill. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that this is all about, won't somebody please think of the children in every way, shape or form. This is about scanning for CSAM or child sexual abuse material before it becomes encrypted. So you've got your WhatsApp, your Signal, your Instagram, all these encryption platforms. The EU wants to implement a system that will scan your messages before they are encrypted. Basically, removing encryption.
More or less. What's the point of encrypting something somebody's already read?
What's the point? There is no point. Now, thus far of we're an EU 26 now, aren't we? So 15 member states have signed on, of which Ireland is a signatory. 5 have definitely said no. Again, this is at the time that we're chatting. It's actually 6 have said no. Estonia, Greece, Luxembourg, Romania, Slovenia. And I'm going to stop on Germany because Germany is officially on the fence. But the German vote is essential because based on the population of Germany, right, it's got 83 million people, it has an outsized say in whether this thing gets passed. So if Germany says no, it doesn't matter what the other 5 holdouts say. They don't have the scale. right?
Okay.
So this effectively comes down to, does Germany believe in message encryption? That's ultimately what it's coming down to. And won't somebody think of the children? Well, there's always somebody thinking of the children, and you always wonder if they're doing so in good faith or not. I personally, on this occasion, I understand people's concerns, but I mean, I also understand that I'm doing nothing wrong, and should the goalposts change tomorrow from, well, we're also interested in looking at people who are terrorist sympathizers. By the way,
and
terrorist
that's how
sympathy. Yeah. And definitions change.
Yeah. Somebody was saying that to me, and it's something that happened maybe 80 years ago, that what Trump is doing by putting army people on the streets in Washington in a
warfighters, Dusty, warfighters.
Yeah. But in a kind of a benign way is, they're just there to kind of keep an eye on things. It's no big deal. We're getting them to clean the parks and whatever for now. All right. Then people get used to them being around, and then new uses are found for them. And that is the danger. Very similar here. Yes, of course, child sexual abuse material is something that absolutely cannot be condoned, but it can also be used as just a doorway to get this thing on, where now we can monitor everybody's text messages before they're encrypted. Or as you say, why bother encrypting them in the first place? Yeah, we move on to terrorism, then we move on to money laundering, then we move on to people admitting that they drove over the speed limit on the M50. Whatever it happens to be. I'm being a bit facetious about it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So no, I don't agree. It doesn't mean that I don't agree with child sexual abuse material, but I absolutely don't agree with this rule.
Yeah, and that seems to be the view of security professionals and academics, and there is widespread opposition to this passing. Okay. So,
well,
again,
listen,
comes
as
down
we
to
say,
German vote.
That it's going to be happening later today on the day we're recording. So if you want to find out what happened in the end, go to techcentral.ie right now, because Niall will have covered the story as it happens. Other news this week, a couple of quickies. Claude developer Anthropic have made a quick settlement with authors and publishers, I believe, because they've been using all of this material without permission to train their AI.
Oh, you'd think, wouldn't you? We talked about this last week, the value of copyrighted material that has been used without author consent. Yeah. We talked about this action going through the courts. We said this is going to be super interesting because Claude absolutely was trained on copyrighted works of authors. Apparently, if you're writing anything, Claude is the best large language model Claude is the best chatbot to use. So Anthropic actually sort of sat down with the class, if you will, of authors and publishers and went, okay, hands up. Yeah, we did it. Okay. We can't defend this. But I tell you what, let's make a deal. $1.5 billion, right?
Whoa!
So that's like everyone in the class gets $3,000 for their trouble.
Is that what it comes out at?
Yeah.
$3,000 per member.
Yeah.
Is the settlement.
What do you think? Do you think that's fair or foul?
Well, kind of read my voice there.
Well, do you know who agrees with you?
Who?
The judge in the case.
Okay.
They put the settlement in front of him and said, hey, look, bish, bash, bosh, we have an agreement. The judge looked at it and went, you do not. Go back. Figure it out.
Very good, very good. Well, we keep an eye on that. Another story this week, Larry Ellison and Elon Musk. Boom, boom, boom. Which one is richer?
Well, I mean, it depends what time of the day you asked. Very briefly, it was Larry Ellison.
Okay.
Larry Ellison, of course, the billionaire behind Oracle, which is all the infrastructure we take for granted when it comes to AI. So Oracle is a really interesting company if you look at it from that perspective. I mean, very often it's not the stuff, it's the stuff that makes the stuff happen that is more valuable, right?
Yeah.
And that's very much the case with Oracle. So For a while, and this is based on financial results, which came out from Oracle, which were really, really good. I think they were, I think shares were up 40% in early trading. Ellison owns 41% of the company. For a while, his personal worth was $393 billion. At the same time as Elon Musk's was 384 billion.
All right, so they're neck and neck. And as you say, it all depends on what they own and the value of what it is that they own. So
yeah, we're down to, market fluctuations. So that was pretty much the. But are they happy, Dusty? Are they happy?
But are they happy? That's the only way we'll keep ourselves sane. Last story for this week. I'm interested to hear this one from you, okay? Because we know the Olympic Games, and the Olympic Games are very, you cannot take any performance enhancing drugs or do anything. It has to be all natural. There's a new games coming that doesn't adhere to that. So I want to know about that firstly, and then also what has it got to do with technology?
Well, okay, here's the thing, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. There are what they refer to as sort of tenets when it comes to sports. Mm-hmm. That it's things like, competitiveness, inclusivity, safety. I think there's another one, but it's all on the idea that if you're going to compete, it's going to be on a metaphorical level field. You will be competing against people within your broad range of abilities.
Yeah,
right. You are not going to race against a cheetah. You are going to race against another human.
Okay, great.
Probably within the age range of 15 to 30.
So
right?
What's changed?
So what is changing? Well, hopefully at the Olympic Games, nothing, because a big part of that fairness is to make sure that people are not taking performance-enhancing drugs. And of course, the Olympics through the years has been involved in numerous scandals involving either individuals or whole-scale national campaigns in doping, and always frowned upon, except in the case now, we have the enhanced games, which are happening next May in Las Vegas. And the idea is take whatever you want to enhance your performance, whatever you're into, take it. Let's see what you can do.
I cannot argue with that, because I think that's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant. The enhanced games. Let's get the Superman out there, the Superwoman, or whatever, and let's see how much better they can be. What has this got to do with technology? What's the tech angle?
One, I think you're dead wrong, because it is fundamentally against one of the tenets of sports. And actually, a lot of the drugs that people do take have very negative side effects. I mean, when it comes to things like, cardiac failure and that sort of thing.
I don't care. All right. I just want to see these people abuse their bodies in order to be a better sportsman and to see how much better they can be. It's entertainment, Niall.
Oh, you sound like such a pro wrestling fan. That's ridiculous.
Well, my name is Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah. Well, yes. Very true. The American dream, Dusty Rhodes.
What has this got to do with tech?
What does this have to do with tech? Okay. Well, let me throw one further thing at you. Who is actually taking part in this? It is not people in the prime of their career. It is people that have reached sort of the end of their, straight and narrow competitive streak. They want to get a couple of extra years and some money out of their career. What does this have to do with technology? Well, it is backed by one Peter Thiel and another gentleman, Christian Angermeyer, who is an investor in AI, psychedelics, but of course, crypto.
There you go, yeah.
I mean, Peter Thiel, has been with us as an investor, as an activist for, as long as the internet has been around. Most famous at the moment for his involvement in Palantir, the data analytics firm that is well in with the Trump administration when it comes to facial recognition, and in particular, identifying people that may or may not be illegal migrants to the States. And this is basically for their amusement and edification.
And my amusement and identification as well, of course.
Yeah. But of course. It does remind me ever so slightly of a documentary on Netflix that I think it actually won an Oscar called Icarus. And it was about a cyclist who rode the Tour de France, managed it quite well. I mean, not a professional guy, but holds his own. And decides one year that, you know what, I've reached my ceiling. I've reached my performance ceiling as, you know, a normal human being. What would happen if I doped? Right? Now, I'm not just going to, you know, declare that I'm doping. I have to get around the system. So he enlisted the help of the head of the Moscow anti-doping laboratory, a gentleman by the name of Grigory Rodchenkov, and hired him and said, look, I want to dope. I want to get through the doping tests. How do I do it? And they come up with a scheme to make this happen.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, he performed worse than when he wasn't doping.
Wow.
Right? But the swerve in the documentary is that this takes place around the time that the big doping scandal in Russia broke. And the World Anti-Doping Agency went in and did their investigation and found that there was wholesale doping amongst Russian athletes. What happens? Well, Rodchenkov goes back to the US and enters the witness protection program. Two of his associates die in mysterious circumstances. I don't know how mysterious. I don't know if they fell out a window or drank some dodgy tea or whatever. So it just reminds me of that. But, you know, also at the same time, I mean, you know, what's your poison on this? Are you going to be taking anabolic steroids? Or in a couple of years' time, will we see people using nanotechnology? I mean, you know.
Oh, now you're getting into the juicy stuff.
Yeah.
Could be very interesting indeed. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. Listen, Niall, we're out of time for this week on the news, but thank you for keeping us up to date with what's been going on over the past week and give us your opinion on it as well. Just before we get into our guest this week, who is part of a $97 billion global industry in femtech, can I just remind you that our show is brought to you by Dell Technologies Forum, which is back live at the RDS in Dublin on Tuesday, September 23rd. They've got special guests, including Irish rugby legend Peter O'Mahony, breakout sessions on everything from AI to the modern workplace, plus one-on-one discussions with Dell experts and more. The Dell Technologies Forum is an unmissable event for business leaders, and you can register now for free at dell.ie.
Delivering Irish tech news since 2006. This is Tech Radio.
The global femtech industry, technology focused on women's health, is expected to be worth over $97 billion by 2030. Health Innovation Hub Ireland, also known as HIHI, has supported more than 30 startups developing products here to improve women's health, from wearable tech to track menopause symptoms to smarter devices for pelvic health and fertility. To find out more, Niall Kitson spoke with HIHI Director Dr. Tanya Mulcahy.
Tanya, in doing my prep for this interview, I came across a quote that basically said, we live in a world by and for men. As somebody that's working in femtech, how true is this?
Well, okay. So, I mean, you can look at that in two ways. You can be feel very irked by that whole thing and say it's not fair and it's unjust, or you can say, why is that? And you're right. Actually, a lot of the products were developed with sort of the male as the consumer or the end user. But you and I know, and most of the world knows, while we're almost identically the same, men and women, we're also very different. So you cannot have a product designed for a man always working for a woman. And that was society in the past, but it's changed. And it has also been impacted by the fact that, particularly in the healthcare space, clinical trials, every time you have a new technology or product in for healthcare, they have to go through clinical trials. And the FDA, which is the American branch of the regulatory authority, excluded women of childbearing age from clinical trials. Now, you might say, why was that? And the reason was, there were very good reasons for that, because some of you will remember things like the thalidomide case, where women took a drug for morning sickness prevention. And unfortunately, the impacts of that were that there were limb issues with children that were born at that time. So in their wisdom, because probably it was a male board, said, no more women of childbearing age in clinical trials. And the knock-on effect was that for 30 years, there were very little products and drugs developed using women as test cases. So everything was tested on the men, everything was designed on the men. And it's no one's fault. There was good reason for doing that. But unfortunately, a lot of the products that were developed at that time were based on the male model. So not just in healthcare, but you have crash tests and racing cars, even the iPhone, they made it bigger and bigger and bigger. And there was a point where the standard woman's hand couldn't hold the iPhone and they went backwards again. So there were a lot of little things like that, nuanced products that we don't even know about. We don't think about it. But if you're a woman, you might pick up that product and say, oh, that doesn't really work for me, or I find that awkward to use. That wasn't taken into account. So yes, products were designed by men because they were the tech developers, or men because they were considered to be the end users. But that has changed now. So what's different now is that we've realized that men and women are not exactly the same.
I think that's fascinating about drug trials, because in the current climate, I think it's accepted that there are so many differences between, our diet, where we live, the climate we're exposed to, the chemicals we're exposed to, that, trials are getting progressively more atomized based on how much we're starting to understand about people. To think that women were excluded, possibly the most basic of categorizations in the human race, and weren't being seriously looked at, I think is absolutely fascinating. Was there any sort of, common sense would think, well, okay, if we're not able to cater for half the population doing this in a certain way, well, then logically, we should be allocating half of our research budget to look at issues affecting half the population. But that's not exactly how things worked at all.
No. So absolutely. I think if you look at the data, unfortunately, women's health research, so top issues that affect women only or women differently to men, they've really only received, I used to looked into this, 5 years ago when we first launched our Femtech initiative. 2% of the global health research budget was spent on women's health issues, which is shocking, really, when you think about it. The good news, though, that's changing as we talk more about it. We have these discussions. Women are actually speaking out as well, saying they want a better product, or if there's a gap in the market and there's no product, they want a new product and innovation that can help them in that space. So that figure is changing. I don't know if you saw Bill Gates just announced a multi-billion dollar fund for women's health research. And it's fantastic to see sort of the big funders now stepping up to the plate and saying, we realize this is important. We need to put money into it. And Ireland is really well positioned to actually do that too. We have amazing researchers and innovators in this country. And we're, perfectly poised now because this is a whole open area for research and innovation. And we have such excellent researchers and innovators and supports in this country that we could really be, at the forefront of that.
Because I imagine this goes far beyond, make it for men only, have a smaller version, ergo it will be more attractive to women. I remember years ago, Nokia did a phone that was aimed at women, and they just took a very mid-range phone and put it in pink.
There was a little bit of pink washing going on there at the moment. And I'm not a fan, but I guess they probably made the phone slightly smaller as well to enable us to hold it. So, there's a realization as well out there. And I think this is important for people that are looking at the space. The data is there now to say that women are the consumers. They're the ones that make most of the household purchasing decisions. They are the ones that make the decisions on care for their family, whether it's healthcare or long-term care. So in terms of buying power and buying decision-making, women are a significant player in that kind of consumer space now. So not just make it pink, but look at what a woman wants in terms of that product and develop it so that they will buy it because they are the ones doing that buying.
And I imagine, of course, the sort of the changing makeup of the workforce has an awful lot to do with that as well. I mean, we are seeing pretty much 50-50 when it comes to the amount of income that is being raised by families is split quite evenly between men and women. And we are seeing, the famous wage gap seems to be closing. An awful lot of the inequality that exists seems still to be to do with the kinds of jobs people are doing, as opposed to the pay people are getting for similar work. Not in all cases, but largely. So I imagine that speaks to companies looking at opportunities for repurposing either current products or looking to identify new ones. I mean, looking specifically at women's health, where do you see those opportunities being? I mean, I imagine sort of the quantify itself has a very different application with women than with men.
Yeah, so I guess if you look at the women's health space or the women's health technology space, and it's a term called femtech. So you've, fintech, agri-tech, whatever. We're talking about femtech, so technology-based products that are aimed at women and particularly women's health. And all you have to do is think about a woman from birth to death and think about a man from birth to death and think about the things that impact them differently. So I'm sure there are a lot of men out there going, thank God I'm not a woman, when you think about all the things they have to go through. So, they're natural things, but we have just kind of taken them on as normal. And for most people, they are normal. But some people go off the normality track and they have issues, and that impacts their health and well-being at work. But if I talk about those conditions that affect women only, they're everything from, when they menstrual. And if anyone doesn't want to talk about women's body parts, maybe now's the time to switch off. But, anything from menstrual health to fertility issues to childbirth, postpartum, breast cancer, cervical checks, all the type of things that we have in place, mental health issues, all the way up to menopause, bone health. These are things that, affect women only in terms of their natural life course. And there's a whole other area then that affects women differently to men. And that's another really interesting area that we can develop tech in. So for instance, women experience migraines, way more frequently than men do. And why is that? If you can find that out, if you can use technology to track and to kind of almost identify when it's going to happen, you may be able to develop technologies that will impact both men and women. And then the other side, neurological conditions, autoimmune conditions, urinary tract infections, like the numbers, there's 80-1 urinary tract infections. I mean, there's huge statistics out there that show that there's so many things we could be looking at. The data still has to be gathered. It's started now, but analyzing that data and using it, putting that into technology is really going to be the future disruptive solutions in that space. But going back to the workplace, yes, we're closing that gender pay gap. We're allowing women, supporting them in roles that maybe in 20, 30 years ago they weren't in. But we are overlooking some of the things like what's the impact of childbirth? And when you come back in again, do you need to be supported? Can we put technologies in there to make that easy for you to reintegrate? And then there are things like, the things that really get me, if anyone doesn't know about this condition, just Google it, please. But endometriosis, that affects 1 in 9 women. Some of them are so impacted that they cannot function for the time that's affecting them. And so that could be a week out of the month where they just can't work or they can't be in work. It takes, on average, 9 years to diagnose that. That in itself is a problem. And we should be using technology to look at digital biomarkers, symptom trackers, and be able to diagnose that much more early than the current system. And the reason we can't diagnose is because there's no easy way to do it except through surgery. So that's a problem. Technology should be able to solve it, and we're not there yet. So if we can look at all those problems in the workplace and women working and what women need in terms of their life kind of choices, there's a huge opportunity for technology. There's a huge opportunity for new businesses, and they'll impact everyone.
So when you're looking at the kinds of projects sort of out in the wild that are being done, are there any that are sort of standing out as a trend? You talked about endometriosis there. Is there sort of a cluster of studies looking at it, or is it tending towards a greater diffusion amongst the entire sector?
Okay, so my personal opinion on this is that we haven't got enough really strong research done to actually inform the future technologies. We're developing technologies in this space, but they're just touching the surface. They're just scraping the very minimal amount of data that we have, the very minimal amount of knowledge that's out there. And if you really, really focused on excellent research and combined with the kind of the view of making those into products, that's how we would solve these problems. So I see a lot of apps. I see a lot of wellness apps. I see a lot of tracking apps. They're giving information back. Kind of, they're saying it's personalized feedback, but they're not doing anything to kind of transform the status quo in terms of real scientific knowledge, disrupting the conditions that they're dealing with. And that's the opportunity.
So when we're looking at Ireland's position within the femtech space, is Ireland in a position of strength? Are we doing pretty well? You've been talking about it as it's an emerging field. Where exactly are we sitting at the moment?
Yeah, so look, Ireland is a really good place to be innovative. I'm sure you've had discussions on that on your programme before. We have great funders like Enterprise Ireland, Research Ireland, HRB. They're all national entities that actually fund sort of this research and innovation. And we have a really, really strong health tech and med tech sector in Ireland. So second largest exporter of medical devices, massive for Ireland. And in the femtech space, so we've been working with companies since 2022 when we first established our initiative. And it's surprising to know that we have worked with over 40 companies in this space. So there is a massive trend of people coming in now and saying, particularly, and there's always a female founder for most of these because they've seen the problem, but you need multiple disciplines to work. So we would have teams coming in with, software, real tech engineers, and they can be women and men or anyone who is interested in this space working together. But we're getting products anywhere from, I'll give you a couple of examples. We've worked with an amazing group called Perry. Their product is a wearable sensor to track menopause symptoms. And you might say, well, so what? Don't people know they're in menopause or they're going through perimenopause? The truth is they don't. There are lots of other things that could be happening. And when they go into their clinicians, they have no evidence-based information except to say, oh, I was feeling this way or that way. It could be anything. So their device is being trialed now at the moment. It tracks the symptoms without the user being aware of the tracking. It's just a wearable device. And that information then feeds into sort of actionable insights so they can do something about the symptoms they have. They can give it to their clinician. But also down the line, we're going to be able to link that into HRT therapies. Is my HRT working? Should I be changing the doses? At the moment, everything we do is sort of done blindly, I would say, in some sense. So wearable tech that's sensing different symptoms, feeding that back into sort of a feedback loop on your drug therapy is going to be really significant. Coral Flow, you've probably Roseanne Longmore and the team there. They've developed a device to measure the amount of milk being provided to a baby when it's breastfeeding. Really, really important because actually it's hit and miss. We don't know. And if the baby's not getting the right nutrition, it's a worry for the mother, it's a worry for the care team, and obviously impacts the baby long term. So another brilliant device is being developed with the team down here in Cork University Maternity Hospital and Tyndall. They're using sensors to, non-invasively detect a baby in distress in utero. And you might say, why would you want to do that? Because the current technology is not good enough. So when they're not sure, they'll do a C-section. So we need a better device so that we reduce the number of C-sections. C-sections are costly. The recovery time is poorer for the women and it can cause implications for the babies. So fantastic technology out there, but there's a lot more that needs to be developed.
Lastly, let's talk a little bit about that sort of cluster effect that startup spaces really thrive on. Is there something similar in femtech for Ireland? So
we're trying to establish sort of Ireland as a leader, in Europe. We have created this report. So it's Femtech in Ireland, the case for prioritising research and innovation. And it's really setting out the blueprint for what should be done to really catapult us in Europe and globally in this space. We are doing that in conjunction with clinicians. So they're really important. You need the clinicians to feed into the products. But we also have a network of over 500 women who are really excited about this space and either want to invest, want to be mentors, have a problem, they want to bring their services, or they want to create their own startup. So there is sort of an activity that is building, and we're hoping to really kind of work with the government to set up a centre of excellence here in Ireland that will be a place that all those innovators with their problems and their solutions can bring together the right team of people to really make sure that we create the best products. And don't forget, we will have to test those products on people. And we have a lot of men coming in with innovation. So there's an excellent company called Alta Science, and they've developed a little device that causes, that a woman can use. It's non-hormonal, and it's a permanent contraception device that they just insert in a clinic once, and that works. And there are people that need those type of devices, and they aren't able to use hormones, or they don't want to use hormones. So that's a group of male engineers that have developed this with a clinician, and it's great to see these technologies being developed based on the problem.
And that was Niall Kitson chatting with Health Innovation Hub Ireland Director Dr. Tanya Mulcahy. If you'd like to find out more about HIHI, their website is brilliant. I love this. It's hih.ie. And I've put that URL into the show notes for you, which you'll find in the description area of this podcast right now.
This is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
That's it for our show this week. Do check out some other stories that we have online for you, including the vote from Germany we were talking about. But what else do we have online now?
Yeah, we've got how social mobility is essential for plugging the ICT skills gap, a new report painting a bleak picture for venture capital, and we ask which sector is surging ahead in adopting AI.
Answers to all of those stories are online for you right now at techcentral.ie. We're back again next Friday with a brand new show online, and of course with RT on RT Radio 1 Extra. In the meantime, please do share our podcast with a friend if they're into tech and gadgets and all kinds of stuff. Just tell them to search for Tech Radio Ireland on Apple, Spotify or YouTube. Until next time, from myself, Dusty Rhodes, and from Niall Kitson, thanks for listening. Have a great weekend.
Remember, you can get the latest Irish tech news with hourly updates, daily newsletters, and more at our website, techcentral.ie. Share the knowledge and invite a friend to listen. Search Apple, Spotify, or YouTube for Tech Radio Ireland, or listen with RTE Radio 1 Extra. Tech Radio is produced by dustpod.io for techcentral.ie. From me, Artemis, live long and prosper.